Hi, thank you for joining me for another edition of Insight from My Book, where we explore ideas that strengthen our leadership, deepen our understanding, and inspire us to become wiser citizens in an ever changing world. Whether you are joining us from New York or California, Texas or Florida, Alaska or Hawaii, or from American communities, serving, studying, working, or living abroad, I am honored to have you with us today. My name is Reverend Dr. Clarence R. Pearson, Sr. I am a pastor, researcher, leadership consultant, public policy observer, and author with a passion for helping individuals, communities, institutions, and nations grow through wisdom, ethical leadership, responsible citizenship, and informed decision making. Today, I would like to share another important insight from my latest book, Neither Left Nor Right: The Battle for America's Democratic Soul. Our focus today comes from Chapter 9, Congress, Paralysis by Partisanship. The central lesson of this chapter is both timely and deeply consequential. When Congress stops governing and starts campaigning, the American people become the greatest losers. Congress was designed to be the people's voice. The United States Congress is often called the People's House. It was never intended to be an arena of permanent political warfare. The framers envisioned Congress as the institution where diverse voices from every state and every community would gather to deliberate, negotiate, and legislate. The House of Representatives was designed to reflect the immediate concerns of the people. The Senate was designed to provide stability and thoughtful deliberation. Together, they formed the legislative heart of the Republic. Their responsibility was never to guarantee unanimous agreement. Their responsibility was to govern despite disagreement. The Constitution anticipated vigorous debate. It did not anticipate permanent paralysis. Compromise is not weakness. One of the greatest misunderstandings in modern politics is the belief that compromise is a sign of weakness. In reality, compromise is one of democracy's greatest strengths. Compromise does not require abandoning principles. It requires recognizing that in a nation of more than 340 million people, no one gets everything they want. Every major achievement in American history required compromise. The Constitution itself was born through compromise. The Civil Rights Act required compromise. Major infrastructure investments required compromise. Economic reforms required compromise. Healthy compromise is not surrender. It is responsible self-government. When elected leaders refuse to negotiate, government slows. When government slows, public confidence declines. And when public confidence declines, democracy becomes more fragile. The rise of hyperpartisanship. Chapter 9 explores how Congress has become increasingly polarized over recent decades. Political disagreement has always existed. That is normal. But today, many lawmakers face tremendous pressure not merely to represent their constituents, but to remain completely loyal to their political base. Primary elections often reward ideological purity. Social media rewards confrontation. Cable news rewards conflict. As a result, cooperation sometimes becomes politically risky. Members of Congress may fear criticism from their own supporters more than disagreement from the opposing party. When politics rewards conflict more than collaboration, legislative productivity naturally declines. The institution begins serving political narratives instead of public needs. The cost of legislative gridlock. When Congress cannot function effectively, the consequences extend far beyond Washington. Families feel the effects. Businesses feel the effects. State governments feel the effects. International allies feel the effects. Important legislation remains unfinished. Long-term planning becomes difficult. Economic uncertainty grows. Public frustration increases. The longer important national issues remain unresolved, the more citizens begin questioning whether democratic government is capable of solving complex problems. That loss of confidence can be even more damaging than any single policy disagreement. Democracy depends not only on representation, it depends upon effective governance. Lessons from government shutdowns and debt ceiling crises. One of the case studies discussed in this chapter examines repeated government shutdowns and debt ceiling confrontations. Regardless of political affiliation, These moments remind us how deeply interconnected America's institutions truly are. When Congress struggles to reach agreement, uncertainty spreads quickly. Federal employees face uncertainty. Markets become anxious. Government services may be interrupted. International observers begin questioning America's political stability. The lesson is not that disagreement should disappear. The lesson is that responsible leadership requires finding constitutional pathways toward resolution. The American people expect vigorous debate. They also expect responsible governance. The two are not mutually exclusive. Representation requires listening. Every member of Congress is elected to represent people, not merely political parties, not merely donors, not merely activists, people. Those people include individuals who voted for them and many who did not. Representation requires listening. It requires understanding diverse viewpoints. It requires balancing local interests with national responsibilities. It requires remembering that elected office is public service, not permanent political competition. Healthy legislators ask, what serves the nation? Not simply, what benefits my party? America needs representatives who remember they serve one nation, even while representing different districts and states. Why this matters today. This conversation matters because Congress remains one of the most important institutions in American democracy. It controls the nation's budget, declares war, passes laws, provides oversight, confirms appointments, represents the voices of millions of Americans. When Congress functions well, democracy becomes stronger. When Congress becomes permanently divided, other branches of government often attempt to fill the vacuum. That can unintentionally shift the constitutional balance envisioned by the framers. Strong legislatures strengthen constitutional government. Weak legislatures often create opportunities for greater executive expansion. Protecting Congress means protecting the balance of powers itself. 3 questions for reflection. This week, I encourage you to reflect on 3 simple questions. 1. Do I expect my elected representatives to solve problems or simply defeat the opposing party? 2. Am I willing to support leaders who choose responsible compromise over political theater? 3. How can I encourage respectful dialogue and civic engagement within my own community? These questions are not intended to diminish healthy political debate. They are intended to strengthen democratic responsibility. America deserves vigorous debate. It also deserves effective government. Why I wrote this chapter. I wrote this chapter because I believe many Americans have become discouraged by the dysfunction they see in Washington. Yet I also believe Congress can recover its original purpose. The institution was never intended to produce perfect agreement. It was intended to produce workable solutions. The founders understood that democracy would always be messy, but they believed free people, acting in good faith, could govern themselves through dialogue, compromise, and constitutional order. That belief remains worth defending. Congress should once again become known not for political paralysis, but for principled leadership, not for endless confrontation, but for responsible governance. In closing, let's quickly review today's insight. Today we learned 1. Congress was designed to represent the people through deliberation and lawmaking. 2. Compromise is a constitutional strength, not a political weakness. 3. Hyperpartisanship often discourages collaboration and effective governance. 4. Legislative gridlock affects every American, not just politicians. 5. Responsible leadership requires balancing conviction with cooperation. 6. A strong Congress is essential to preserving the constitutional balance of powers. When these principles guide our expectations, elected leaders become more accountable, democratic institutions become stronger, and the republic becomes more resilient. If today's insight has been meaningful to you, I encourage you to get a copy of my book, Neither Left Nor Right: The Battle for America's Democratic Soul. The book is available through Amazon and other major online booksellers. Simply search for my name, Clarence R. Pearson, to discover this and my other published works. After reading the book, I encourage you to leave an honest review to help other readers discover this important conversation. I would also be honored if you would follow my Amazon author page to stay informed about future books, leadership resources, civic education materials, and new releases. Before you go, please follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Together, we can encourage principled leadership, strengthen democratic institutions, promote respectful civic dialogue, and help restore public confidence in representative government. I have been your presenter, Reverend Dr. Clarence R. Pearson, Sr., helping you transform knowledge into wisdom, conviction into character, and citizenship into impact. Thank you for joining me for this edition of Insight from my book. Until next time, remember, Congress is strongest not when one party wins every battle, but when elected leaders remember why they were sent there to serve the American people. The health of our republic depends not on perpetual political victory, but on faithful constitutional governance, courageous compromise, and a shared commitment to the common good. God bless you, and may God continue to bless the United States of America.